Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful week. And of course, we are now in Chodesh Elul. And we also read in Parsha Shoftim a fascinating set of halachos. The Torah tells us that when a person is going out to war, so certain people have exemptions. One of the persons that has an exemption is someone who's rach levav, who is just faint of heart. But then the Torah identifies three specific cases: a person who planted a new vineyard, a person who built a new home, and a person who's getting married. And the common denominator, of course, is that all of these people have certain major distractions in their lives. Someone who just became married, of course, should be focused on his relationship, on building the simach esistro, as we learn in Parshas Kisei. Someone who built a new home and has not yet been mechanech, needs to make sure that home is securely his. Same thing with a vineyard. There's a striking Gemara in Maseches Sota that asks the following question. It wants to know, okay, let's say a person did not build a new home. He has a home, but he made some kind of improvements to the home. He made some kind of home improvements. So does that also, and he wasn't mechanech, he didn't do a Chanukas Habayis on those improvements, does that also create an exemption from warfare? On the one hand, it's not a brand new home. On the other hand, he did something new. There's something that he's concerned about that might distract him. It's dear to him. And perhaps that also be a basis for exemption. So the Ben Ish Chai points out and raises the following issue. We speak about a person who's bana bayis chadash. So when a person builds a new home, that's when he's exempt. Is home improvements, let's say I added a new wing to my house, is that called a bayis chadash? If it's a bayis chadash, he's exempt from warfare. If it's not a bayis chadash, then he'll be obligated to continue and join Klal Yisrael in that milchama. So is a home improvement called chadash? Is that considered to be new? So strikingly, you look through the Torah, the word chadash doesn't appear many times, but it does appear in Parsha Shmos, and there we're told that there was a new king, Vayakam melech chadash, a new king, asher lo yada es Yosef. And he didn't know Yosef. And there's a very famous machlokas Rav and Shmuel Rashi brings over there, and that is, what does it mean chadash? One possibility is chadash mamish. It was a brand new king. The old Paro had died. This is a brand new Paro. And then the Torah Rashi cites an alternative view in that it's not a brand new Paro, but rather it's a changed Paro. He has adjusted his deos, his philosophy, whereas in the past he was kind to the Jewish people, now he's no longer kind. In other words, this other Manda Amar says that Chadash does not have to mean brand new. It could mean with a different outlook, with a different viewpoint, with something changed. And that also would be qualified as Chadash. And therefore one could suggest, says the Ben Ish Chai, that maybe even, and this is the question that's cited to in the Gemara, maybe that yes, home improvements, that's also called Chadash. It's not brand new, but it's different, it's changed, it's developed. And therefore that's also called a sense of his chadshus, and that also, paskins the Rambam, would cause a person not have to go out to war. That's also called chadash. We find ourselves in a month of focus on his chadshus, on looking at life differently. And sometimes this month, many people, myself included, sometimes we don't fully take advantage of this month because we think about, as we approach Rosh Hashanah, Chodesh Elul, being different, his chadshus, New Year's resolutions, and all too often we have very dramatic desires, big desires, fundamental change. And it's hard to make that kind of fundamental change, to go ahead and wipe the house out and build a brand new house. That's a difficult thing to do. But sometimes that's not what's required. It's just a change in focus. Perhaps not a radical change, but small changes, incremental changes, shifts in change. That's also called chadash, a change in mindset, a change perhaps from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, a change in attitude. It doesn't have to be fundamental, radical to the core. It doesn't have to mean wiping out the existing structure and putting up a new one. Perhaps a more subtle sense of change is also called change. And therefore in this month of his chadshus, of looking at things new, we learn from this parsha, we learn from Vayakam melech chadash. It does not necessarily mean chadash mamash, brand new. It could also mean just a shift in focus, a shift in direction, a shift in attitude. And that's also called his chadshus. That's also exceptionally meaningful. And as we approach Chodesh Elul, we approach this month of introspection, of examining ourselves and seeing what we're all about. Perhaps that indeed is where our mind should be at, not radical change, but more subtle change, change in direction, and therefore getting the most out of this Chodesh Elul. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.